Hi, everybody, and welcome to your Sponsorship 101 training video. This is the video that'll give you all the information you need to really rock your role within sponsorship. My name is Judy Holler, and I'm thrilled to be your host, but I'm also really honored to serve as a board member of the Chicago area chapter. So I've got to tell you, before we get started and before I introduce these very distinguished panelists, congratulations on being a leader. You've just made a really great choice, and it's a choice that can and will change your life, but it's all how you work it. And I've got to tell you, that's why we're here today. I've got three rock stars on the line with me, and we're going to really walk through everything you need to know to set yourselves up for success within sponsorship. So I'm talking to you if you are a committee chair and you just took on this new role. I'm talking to you if you're a committee member in sponsorship, and I'm talking to you if you're someone who's aspiring to join the sponsorship committee, or maybe you're just someone who's aspiring to grow your leadership within the chapter and you just want to learn a little bit more about sponsorship. This video is going to get you up to speed. So let's get this party started and introduce our panelists for today. First and foremost, we got Miss Tina Reedy, who is our Vice President of Sponsorship. Tina, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. And Bob Moyson, our token guy. We've got Bob on the line, and Bob is the Director of Sponsorship. Hi, Bob.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm awesome. And last but certainly not least is Melissa Swaco, and she is our Director of Special Events. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
So before we get started, we're going to run through some quick objectives so you understand what you're going to learn on this call. But I want to remind you that since this video is online, it means it's on demand. So that means you can watch this anytime you want, 24 hours a day. I can promise we'll be that engaging. So, but seriously, go at your own pace. Take notes. Write down a list of questions if there's anything that doesn't make sense, and take those cues to your board liaison or your director or any one of us on the video if you need further clarification. But the point is, you can pause it, you can work at your own pace, you can share it with your friends, you can watch it again and again. This video is a resource for you. Today on this call, we're going to dig into a few things, particularly relating to sponsorship. We're going to highlight and review the team roles and responsibilities. We're going to work to expand your knowledge on how to understand and manage sponsorships, but most importantly, how it relates to your event and your budgets. And then we're going to talk about the tools and resources that are available to you. So I'm ready to get this party started, and I think we should kick it off with you, Tina. And I'd love to see or have you explain the budget and really, more importantly, how it relates to a committee and their events.
So to understand your budget, you would take a look at it, and it's split out into two different parts. There's an income section and an expense section. So if you do sales, you understand what your sales are, cost of sales. So what you brought in and what it cost overall to the expenses to bring in those sales. Or if you're not in the sales world, look at it this way and consider your household budget. You receive a paycheck, your income, which would go into your expense section, and any other form of income you may have goes into that section. And then you have an expense section. And in that section, that would be anything that it would cost as far as your utilities, gas, so on and so forth. And at the end of the month, you either come out ahead or you have to fine-tune that budget for yourself personally. So if you approach it with that mindset, it's a little bit easier to understand and less intimidating. Then up in that income section, forms of income for you based on those event specific, you would have your registration fees. You would also have event-specific cash sponsors that come in. And lastly, you would have sponsors that come in as part of our marketing partnerships, which we'll touch on a little bit later and explain in more detail for you. In your expense section, that is basically your roadmap and your parameters of what's been done in years past. So, for example, you use that as your guideline to know, hey, there's a breakfast and lunch in here. Or, so that gives you an idea of what you need to plan for your event, how many people in years past. It's usually based on history. And then it'll also have what the dollar amount, again, a parameter that you need to be within. It's a guideline. And actually, one thing to note, too, is off to the right, there's a gray section. That also shows you what's been done in years past, which really will help you understand as well as that guideline. If you need to make a change to that budget, it is completely okay. Work with your director, work with the VP of your department, also work with me, the VP of Finance, and we'll be able to get you set up for success.
That's great. That's great. I love it. A roadmap, and I think that's just a nice word for it because it really is such a great resource. A lot of people fear the budget, and there's no need to fear the budget. You know, it's our friend, and understanding it and knowledge is power. So, Bob, I'd like to come over to you, and I'd love for maybe someone who doesn't know a lot about our chapter events, because our budget's full of the expenses we manage for our chapter events. Tell us a little bit about our chapter events.
We have a lot of events throughout the year, probably one every month. And I always break it down to you have your educational events and you have your special events or your networking events. We do 4 standard educational events through a year, plus we do some high-profile educational events such as TechCon. That particular conference focuses on emerging event technology, as well as event technology trends as it relates to the meeting industry. So great for everybody to go there and just check out to see what's new and coming on the technology side. We also have the annual educational conference. This is more of your, I shouldn't say standard or basic, but it has a keynote session. It has your breakout session so that everybody can go there, check out the keynote speaker, and then dive into a particular breakout session to learn more about what they want to learn about. Both of these events are full-day conferences, and they offer CEU credits. Now, we also have smaller educational events that we call knowledge shares, where members meet in a very informal fashion, in roundtable fashion, and discuss best practices about anything that they want to talk about, as well as future meeting trends. So people are able to bounce ideas off of each other, and that's how people learn. Now, in addition to these educational events, we also hold our regular special events such as our summer networking event as well as our holiday celebration. A lot of networking going on at those 2 particular events. But then, once again, just like education, we have more high-profile events like our annual trivia night. Now, you may be asking yourself, what's trivia night? Well, that's a question at trivia night, so we can't answer that right now. So you have to go to the event to find out what the answer is. But a lot of people go to that one. It's relatively new to our schedule. It's a great time for our members to network. We also have our golf classic, 18 holes of golf, obviously, and capped off with a great evening reception. So once again, everybody getting together and meeting each other to really build your business with MPI. And finally, we have our awards, annual awards gala, or AARG. That's celebrating the greatest achievements of our members throughout the previous year. And we do that with, of course, dinner and drinks, as well as a great awards ceremony. Now, all these events would not be possible if it wasn't for our sponsors, both event-specific and through our marketing partnership, which, as Tina mentioned, we'll be talking about a little bit later on. So sponsorship is key to holding all these events for our members.
Yeah, really, really good stuff, Bob, and you're getting me really excited for the calendar year. We just started our new fiscal. For anybody on the call that doesn't understand that, MPI's new year is July 1st, so we just started. We're recording on July 15th, so you've gotten me really excited about our new year and all the new events. So you're right, sponsorships are a big part of that. So Melissa, let's dig into that a little bit. What are the different types of sponsors and maybe a few examples of the levels?
Sure. So because it's so important, there are so many opportunities for sponsors. The reason being because we want to make sure that we can connect the goals of the sponsors to the needs of the committees. By doing so, we are increasing the ROI for the sponsor, which is very important in the first place to secure them as a sponsor, but then also the more ROI they see at the event or after the event, the more likely they are to come back and repeat that sponsorship. One of the event-specific sponsorships that Bob alluded to is an in-kind sponsorship. And this is a great opportunity for a company to really kind of showcase and highlight their product or their capabilities. Some examples might be a decor company would be a perfect fit for the holiday party because they might have this new linen that they want to show off, or a set of lounge furniture that is brand new. And it's a great place to highlight those events or highlight those products. Or there might be a new meeting app that you want, or that's recently released. A great opportunity for that would be TechCon. So those would all be in-kind sponsorships. The other event specific is cash. And the benefit for the cash sponsorship is to create awareness of your property, your product, your service, whatever that may be. Overall, between these two types and some others that we'll get into, between the multiple events, we really do have an opportunity for a type of company to sponsor the chapter.
That's great. And Bob, I'd love to hear if there's anything we do from a raffle perspective. Do we do anything like that within our chapter?
We hold raffles at a lot of our events, not all of them, obviously, but a lot of them, as well as silent auctions, and that's another opportunity for sponsors to get involved with our chapter. Now, they don't necessarily receive the benefits that, say, a cash sponsor would receive, or even an in-kind sponsor, such as mailing lists and marketing support, but we work really hard with regards to placing them at events that are appropriate for their product or service. So, once again, using TechCon as an example, a company that, say, wants to raffle off an iPad, that'd be perfect for that because that's newer technology, and that's something that can really highlight them to the audience that they are looking to get. That would be a better event for an iPad, say, than maybe the summer networking event. On the other hand, a hotel stay may not be the perfect fit at TechCon, but it may be great at, say, trivia night, for example, where you got a lot of planners there and everybody's really interested to learn more about those hotels. So we work very hard with our sponsors as well as our chairs of the event to make sure that those items for silent auction raffles are not only good for our members at those events, but also good for our partners so they're reaching out to the right audience.
Yeah, that's great. And I know a big component of what we do from a sponsorship perspective also has a lot to do with the different marketing partnerships that are out there and the different global partnerships. We work closely with Global to manage that relationship and to make sure that we're having a mutual conversation. I know that we've lost Tina briefly here with the technology issue. Is there would either of you two be comfortable speaking to that? If not, we can absolutely pick that up in a part 2 video.
Well, I could talk about the the marketing partnerships that we have throughout the year. I know Melissa actually chaired the sponsorship committee last year, is also very involved with that. But, you know, what we're doing as the director of sponsorship right now is what that is that people work with us, they partner with us, and you know, they give us cash, and we then support them by giving them various marketing support throughout the year. It isn't just based on the event. So the difference between event-based sponsorship and cash would be like it's only for that event, it's only for those people. Our marketing partners are the ones that we support 365 days throughout the year, and we work with them to just get their word out, whatever message you want to do, with our mailing list, with our banner ads, with speaking time at the particular events, which they can choose, so they can choose their audience. So it's something that is obviously great for the chapter because we are able to work with them and provide the programs to our members, but it's also great for the sponsors because they're reaching the audience that they want to reach out to.
Sure. And it's also really important for the co-chairs to know, as Tina mentioned in the budget, there is a line item for that marketing partnership. So it's already built into that budget, and that's one line item, one income line item that the committees don't need to per se worry about because that is a main role and responsibility of the sponsorship committee.
Okay.
And Judy, if you like, I can go ahead and just briefly explain about the global partnership that we have.
That would be great. Yeah.
So, perfect. So the sponsorship committee works with MPI Global to secure some other additional cash sponsorships, event specific. And the benefit with that, with Global, they might reach out to these larger organizations, and these larger organizations want to sponsor different chapters throughout the country. We might not be able to be even aware of that total dollar amount, but because Global has that agreement with the incoming or that other sponsor, Global works with them to determine the best place for their funds to be placed. Chicago being the largest chapter, it really is beneficial for both our chapter and for Global to work together because of the number of planners that we have, just the size and scope of our chapter. So sponsorship works with Global. It's about, I think, monthly call or so, depending on the needs, a little bit more. But we continue to develop that relationship to obtain more and more sponsorships throughout the entire year.
That's great. Thank you, too, for picking up that slack. And obviously, you got to love technology. We've lost our VP of finance, but we will press on without her and do our best. And if we need to film a part 2 of the video, we'll do that. But you know what? We're having such a great conversation. And maybe, Melissa, I stay with you for a minute because I'd love to move on to kind of the fourth question, which is really about identifying what sponsorships we need for events. And we have a Super 6 and all of that. So I'd love to see if there's anything you can't share with us about, how do you know what sponsorships you need?
Sure. So the best place, the first thing that you should really know is that the chapter has so much history and so much documentation. We really want to make it easy on you. There's no need to recreate the wheel each time that a new chair takes over or an event changes venue or something like that. One of the most important documents when it comes to sponsorship is that sponsorship tracking document. This is maintained by MPI CAC, by HQ, and then on that tracking document, it includes the history, both in-kind and cash sponsorships. I believe it might be dated back to 2009. Okay. So this is a great opportunity for chairs to look at this document, see what sort of sponsorship they've had in the past, and be able to build on that. It also includes the contact information. Repeat sponsors are wonderful. They really got to see the benefit of being at that event, and so they're more likely to come back a second time. So we highly recommend reaching out to any sponsor you've seen on that tracking document in the past. As you mentioned, there's also that Super 6 slide deck. This is created or has been created for the Super 6 events of our chapter. And everyone should know this. I'm hoping I'm going to get it right when I rattle them off. It includes EdCon, Holiday Party, TechCon, Awards Night, Trivia Night, and Golf.
Woo!
Rock on.
Perfect.
Oh, nice.
Golf clap for that.
So there's a couple different components of this Super 6 slide deck. The first and kind of some of the more important things is that it gives an overview of the event. The dates, the time, the location of next year's event, also including some of the metrics such as who attended last year, the ratio of planners to suppliers, and that sort of information. The meat of it is that cash opportunity, the event-specific cash sponsorship. This has been created, and there have been multiple opportunities, so that way the total value of all of the cash sponsors within that slide deck, it exceeds your budgeted sponsorship event or sponsorship income. The reason being is we're trying to make it as easy as possible. The more opportunities you have, the more you can sell, the more likely you are to come in over budget for the income, which everyone would be very happy about.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Judy.
Oh, it's okay. I said I think that's great. Yeah, you can finish your thought before, because I do want to ask Bob about venues, but definitely finish up.
Sure. One other thing too, so the cash is definitely the best place to look is that slide deck. For the in-kind sponsors, this really varies based on the event of the year, based on the venue, the theme, really the direction that the committee wants to go. There isn't as much history because it varies year after year with what is needed. So we recommend creating a tracking document of both your needs and wants for in-kind sponsorship. Sponsorship committee has a couple different documents from past committees that you could use as templates. So feel free to reach out to your sponsorship liaison for those documents. And really just remember to focus on the needs first for in-kind sponsor. Sometimes the wants might be more fun, but first and foremost, you have to put on a strong, successful event, and you're going to need to feed people, to give them drinks, to make sure that there's security and the doors are open and the lights are on. So remember to focus on your needs first and your wants second.
I love that. I think that's great. Thank you so much for running with that, Melissa. Such good information. So, Bob, what about venues? Is there any guidelines there we should know about?
Well, we do want to book them out as far as possible. But before, I just want to comment one thing on Melissa. I'm very happy that you have the drinks on the needs list and not just the wants list, because that is very, very important. Probably more so than anything else. But the venues are very, very important, obviously. We do like to book it. Obviously, you got to have a venue. You can get as many people as you want there, but if you don't have a venue, they're just standing out in the street. So we want to book them 15 months out. This allows the chapter to get the save the date information out so people can get it on their calendars so that you have as much attendance as possible. And we also like to have the sponsoring venue attend the previous year's events so that they really get an idea and a feel for the event, so they kind of know what's going to be coming at them, both on a logistics basis as well as just an appearance basis for the event. So it's just always great. The more time you have, or the more you can get ahead of the game as it pertains to venue, it's going to be that much easier for everything else to fall in the line. And it's also great to get your sponsoring venue on your committee, because that way you can work with them in the moment so that they can talk to you about any potential issues. Say it's a doorway that needs to be opened up, or can the tables be set up this way, or can we fly a truss in this room? That way you can take care of it right then and there at your committee meeting, and you don't have to wait 2 or 3 days to get that answer back. So venue's very, very important. It's up to the committee to secure the venue, but the sponsorship team is here to help you, and we will give you recommendations based on who has possibly submitted an interest form in the past, and we may think, hey, this is great for the award ceremony, this is great for a holiday party. We're there to help, so please reach out to the sponsorship committee and your liaison.
That's great. Thanks so much, Bob. Melissa, I want to come back to you really quick. Where can someone find additional resources for program development?
Sure. So as we've mentioned a couple of times, there is a liaison that is a member of the sponsorship committee, but they also are the liaison for your specific event. They will be assigned to your committee, and they'll be reaching out to you either, in July after the transition, or if you are on transition 365, then once the new co-chairs and kind of new committee has been established. These liaisons are your best point of contact, kind of help you, walk you through the sponsorship process. And they also have the access to all of the sponsorship tracking documents, the RFPs or budgets or things like that sponsorship has kept track of year after year that might relate to the committee or the chapter as a whole, as opposed to the history of events such as BEOs or things like that. So that's really kind of the first place to look. Another opportunity is on the MPI CAC website. There's a section that's titled Marketplace, and then I believe it's Sponsorship Opportunity. This is where you're going to fill out or direct people for the sponsorship interest form. The interest form is then sent to the co-chairs, the director and the VP of sponsorship, and the VP of finance, and that's really what gets the sponsorship process started. For the committee, once the sponsor fills out that interest form, your heavy lifting is just about done. So that's always a great place, a great link to be aware of. The last place for in-kind sponsors, we highly, highly recommend that you look at the directory. If people are in the directory, they're MPI members, so either themselves personally or their organization really believe and understand the value of being an MPI member, and so therefore they're more likely to be interested and willing to sponsor their product or their service and highlight that or showcase that within the chapter.
That's great. So Bob, how do we secure these sponsorships then?
Well, Melissa touched on it before. One of the main channels that the sponsors come in on is the sponsorship interest form found on the MPI CAC website. Sometimes they're just out of nowhere, somebody wants to get involved with MPI and say, hey, I got this great product or service, and then it gets distributed to all the sponsorship team, and then we can say, hey, look, the award ceremony is looking for linens, and this company out of nowhere said they're looking to sponsor linens, and we'll kick that information over to them and get that ball rolling. Another way with regards to sponsorship is through event-specific cash sponsors. That is, as we talked about before, secured by the event committees, by the people they talk to, talking about their specific event and why it would be great for those sponsors to be involved with it from a cash perspective. Now, the sponsorship committee is really the people that they focus their time on the marketing sponsorships, that year-long marketing support that we offer in exchange for the cash sponsorships. That money, as Tina mentioned before she left the call, is something, that money is actually spread throughout all of the events throughout the year. So it's more of a big picture chapter support, and then we in turn offer the marketing support to them, to all of our members at our events, on our website, so on and so forth. All that, as I mentioned, is secured and managed by the sponsorship team. No matter what these people sponsor, it's up to everybody to work together so that we provide the benefits that they agreed to. Obviously, if they were talking to a committee and the committee says, hey, you're going to get speaking time at the committee, at the meeting, or at the event rather, and then it doesn't really trickle down on somebody that don't have speaking time, then we have an unhappy sponsor at that point. So everybody needs in communication with that interest form. Then it goes to meeting expectations so that they can write up the invoice that's going to list all those benefits. The sponsorship team is also aware of it, so that we don't call on that person for something else 2 months later and they don't feel like they're being burnt out. So communication is very, very key. And those benefits, as we mentioned in the past, include mailing lists, include banner ads on our website, include speaking time at particular events, free registrations for the events that they want to be involved with, and all that happens through teamwork and through meeting expectations, coordinating it all in the background.
Yeah, that's great. And just to clarify, for those folks watching the video that don't know who Meetings Expectations is, that is the management company that manages our association. So our executive director, Christy, and Maritza, our association manager, are employees of Meeting Expectations, and they really take good care of us. So I just wanted to clarify there, but great information, Bob. And, we've talked a little bit and already touched on the liaisons and kind of the importance of these sort of sponsorship liaisons. And I'd love to hear the both of you, and maybe Melissa, you kick us off, but I'd love to hear from you guys to talk a little bit more about these liaisons and how they can assist and anything else we need to know before we get the engaged member that's watching this video on with their day.
Perfect. Well, the liaison, as we mentioned, they are initially a sponsorship committee member, and then we assign them to another chapter committee, and they will then sit on both committees for the year. Oftentimes, we do try to assign the liaison to another committee that they're interested in or that they have expertise on. So we kind of work with them to make sure that it's the right fit for both the liaison and the other committee. Their role is to really make sure that everyone's aware of the needs and wants and that resource in case they start to struggle. The committee is responsible for the initial reaching out for some of the event-specific and the in-kind sponsors, but the liaison and the sponsorship committee, we are always here. We're the backbone of the sponsorship for that chapter. So you're never alone. We're here to help, especially if you get stuck, or if we start to notice you're veering off in one direction and need to focus back on cash. We'll help make sure that that's kind of all in line and all tightened up. Another way is we can help with RFPs. As Bob mentioned, the different types of sponsors. When you're reaching out to someone, an RFP is always going to be very, very helpful. You might even be able to look at the slide deck as an RFP in a way. But for some of the other venues or transportation or other sort of in-kind services, there are RFPs that have been created that we have copies of and we can share with your committee. We also manage the do not call list, which is very important because we want to make sure that all of our members and all of the MPI members do have an opportunity to sponsor an event if they are interested. We don't want to continue to reach out to the same sponsors year after year. I mean, if they're willing to sponsor, we don't want to say no to anyone, but then we might the sponsorship committee might work with some of the other committees to maybe shift around the sponsors or make sure that we have more opportunities and we're really not relying on one or two companies too often. We really value those relationships, and we want to make sure that they feel valued as well.
That's great. Bob, any thoughts to add?
Yeah, we're also here to support the committee's liaison as well as the sponsorship committee as a whole, not only leading up to the event, but also at the event and follow up afterward with these sponsors. So, we're going to be working with the key sponsors to facilitate introductions at the event, although we can't guarantee it, obviously, given the nature of networking and all that. We try very hard to make that happen so that the sponsors get as much value at the event as possible, in addition to all the exposure they're getting with their logo and whatever else is happening. Now, we're also going to follow up with the sponsors after the event to make sure that they're satisfied or maybe get some constructive feedback from them in how to make it better for MPI as well as the sponsor for the next year. And we're also going to work with the committee, or work with the event committee anyway, to follow up with thank you cards. I mean, it's a nice personal touch that we're here to help you out with, because we want our sponsors to be happy because they are a partner for us. And as I mentioned in the past, without their support, we wouldn't be able to do anything that we do. So we're there not only before, like Melissa was talking about, but both during the event as well as after the event.
I love it. Well said, you guys. So much great information. And I know it's just a high level review on sponsorship and really all the different, components that go into it. So if you're watching this video, write down Bob's name, Melissa's name, Tina Reedy's our, the 2014-2015 Vice President of Sponsorship. But really, any of us on the board of directors is happy to sit down with you at any time to dig a little deeper. But hopefully this gets you a little more comfy with the idea of sponsorship. You, Melissa and Bob, you've been a wealth of knowledge. Is there any parting words? Is there anything you two would like to say before we sign off?
I would just say that sponsorship, it might seem a lot to take on, but the committee and the chapter is here to support you. We all realize how important it is, and so you always have someone that can help you.
Great.
Don't be afraid by the budgets. They're big, and there's a lot of numbers, but have fun with your events and reach out for help, whether it's from sponsorship or anybody else on the board, like Judy said before.
That's great. Yeah, I totally agree. It is a team effort, and we are all here to make this association and your membership better and a really, really rewarding thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. It sure has been fun hanging out with you, Melissa and Bob. And we look forward to seeing you at the next chapter event and maybe someday seeing you sit around the board table. You never know. For MPI Chicago and on behalf of Melissa, Bob, and Tina Reedy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for all you do, and we'll catch you later. Thanks for watching.